Hello, hello. Welcome to Courage Becomes Her, where we connect and share real life stories. I'll talk with women whom I love and am inspired by, women who are experiencing life just like you and me. I'm excited for us to gather together and cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in life and work.
I don't think 7-8 years ago I was ready to be quiet with myself. So I think it's different for each woman and each person. My identity was in my job. And at this time in my life, I'm having the opportunity to identify with other aspects of who I am, the other part of the woman.
That was Diane Clark. Diane is a wife, a mom, a grandma to 4, a lifelong Texas gal, and a former mortgage industry expert. She spent over 34 years at the same company where she and her team helped over 1 million people to obtain home loans. Absolutely outrageous. I am so grateful for today's conversation with Diane, where we talk about what it has been like for her in this season to navigate retirement and the planning and preparation that went into thinking about retirement and the awareness that has happened for her over the last few years of how much her identity was wrapped up in being a successful career woman, and what it's like now to move to a place of being more whole and embracing a quietness in life and just really discovering herself in a new way with a new identity. So I'm really grateful for you to join us today for this conversation with Diane. Diane, thank you so much for joining me for this Courage Becomes Her episode. I am just thrilled to have you with us today.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and I'm thrilled to be here, and it's so good to hear from you, Laurel.
You too. Thank you so much. So let's dive in and let's talk about Enneagram. So this is not something that you and I have ever really talked much about before, but tell me your discovery of your Enneagram.
Well, I had no idea what it was until you asked me about it, and so I took the test. And I'm a 7 with a strong 8 wing. And also my 1 is pretty equal with it as well. I was just looking at because I kind of copied it off. 1, 3, and 6 after the 7 and the 8.
Okay. All right. Yes. Oh, and I love that because you definitely are a fun person and gravitate toward activity as well as a good challenger of people. So I can definitely see the 7 and the 8 for sure. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. What about your love language? What would you say is your love language?
Well, we all love to be touched. But I think my biggest strong language is communicating emotionally and intellectually with one another person.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So kind of a combination of quality time and words of affirmation that you're really
Absolutely.
Engaging deeply. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so good.
Yes.
I love that. Good. So maybe along those lines of, deep conversation, tell us about a book that has transformed your life.
Well, the Bible transformed my life early on in my early 20s, and it continues to transform me. It's where I go when I'm searching for wisdom or struggling with decisions or concerned about people in my life.
That's so good. Good. I love that. How about a current obsession, something that you're currently obsessed with, a product, a show, a podcast, food?
Oh, well, I've been obsessed with decorating my home. We completely remodeled the house, and I didn't know I had any decorative abilities, but I'm being told that you've got this. And it's been fun going to different places and looking at colors and trying to decide how to make this home different from what it was, because my husband was in the home before we married, and the house is over 30 years old, and he wanted us to sell our homes and go buy another one. I said, no, too many good bones. I got this beautiful yard. And so it's been about a 3-year project and I'm
How
done. I finally
fun.
finished. So that's been my
Yay.
obsession.
Oh, that's great. So fun. Well, and if I can correlate anything, you have always been a beautiful dresser in the way that you clothe yourself, and your makeup is always just gorgeous and right on. So, if any of that translated into your home, I know it is absolutely just
Oh, you're
gorgeous.
too kind. You're
No,
way too
it's
kind.
so true. So true. I wish I was as put together as you are. So.
It may have something to do growing up in Dallas, and my mother never left the house without lipstick and her hair done.
That definitely is a Texas thing for sure. Absolutely. Okay, first concert that you ever went to.
The Beatles. The
Really?
Beatles. Oh, it was so wonderful because my girlfriend's father worked for Kodak, and we sat on like the 8th row from center front. And
Wow.
they were put real high up on a stage so nobody could reach them.
Sure.
And the girls were coming down on the balcony trying to get to them. But that was so exciting for me. I was 14. It was
Oh my
wonderful.
gosh. Wow. Where was it?
It was in one of the big auditoriums in Dallas,
Oh my gosh.
Dallas
Wow.
Market Hall. Yeah.
That's amazing. What a memory. So cool. Okay, I don't think we can beat that, but what's the best show or movie that you've watched in the last 6 or 12 months?
Oh, I should have looked at the name of that. What's the name of that about the coach that went to England? What is that
Oh,
was
Ted Lasso.
Oh, that was amazing. Loved
Yes,
it.
it
I
is.
mean, I was sad when it was over.
Yeah. I think there's a new season starting in a couple of weeks.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That'll be
sometime in
wonderful.
the next couple of
Yeah.
weeks. So,
Did you
yeah,
like it?
I love it. Yeah, I think it's such a great show. Yeah,
Oh, it was
good story.
compassionate. It was funny. It was about real life. It was
Yeah,
lovely.
agreed. 100% agreed. Okay, what's made you laugh or kind of metaphorically filled your cup in the last day or so?
My husband,
Oh,
he always has something funny to say every morning. And he has not been well, but he has his cup's not half full. It's
mm,
almost completely full. And
mm,
his sense of humor he's just wonderful. He's so funny. He's funny all the time. He's never sad. He never lets anything get him down or he doesn't show it.
mm.
He has a good relationship with his Lord and he makes me smile.
I love that. That's
Oh,
so
I have
good.
one other one. Can I share one more?
Yeah.
So my granddaughter, my youngest granddaughter is 8 years old. And so I was up with her the other day, and I don't even remember what I was telling her. I was trying to share a story with her, and she she looked at me and she said, "Nana, are you trying to speak to me hypothetically?"
An
And I
8-year-old.
went, "Yeah." And I went, "Well, you know what? I think I am." So she's the light of my life too. The two of them keep me going.
So precious. I love that. So fun. Good. Oh, well, thank you for that. So, I asked you to join us for this episode to talk about kind of this navigating retirement. And so, if we back up just a touch, when you and I worked together a handful or so of years ago, you were kind of in a place of being hesitant of retiring, hesitant to retire. So it kind of talk just a little bit about what your hesitation was around that, and then we'll then kind of move forward in the conversation to today and now being retired.
The hesitation was for more than one reason. My profession was my life. My kids
Mm,
were grown. I had put everything I had into it, and you could say I was two-dimensional. There weren't three dimensions to me, and it was my
mm,
passion. It was my love. It's what I got up every morning to do, and would work long hours, and I just put my whole self into it.
mm,
The other was to make sure that I financially could continue with my life as it was while I was working, and I wanted to
yeah,
make sure that I had put myself in a financial position and had understood how I'd be able to support myself and take care of things.
yeah,
So it's those two things, it's leaving the relationships that I had developed over the years and
mm,
And it was who I was. It
Yeah.
was who I identified myself as.
Yeah.
So I had to find a new identity.
Mm.
I wasn't real sure I could.
Hmm. Yeah. Oh gosh, I want to talk about that in just a second. One of the things that you and I talked a lot about when we were working together was just you being able to feel like that ownership in those relationships that you had established with your clients, that you could trust the team to kind of carry that on for you. So tell us just a little bit about like that process of being able to, kind of let go, so to speak, of that portion of it.
Laura, I think that I made some great choices early on as I put that team together.
Mm.
I knew exactly what my goal was, and through professional coaching, that helped me a lot to understand what my big goal was and how to execute that goal.
Mm-hmm.
And the time that you were coaching me, I was preparing to step away, but I wasn't quite ready.
Yeah.
And I either I chose the right people or they chose me. It was a combination of both,
Mm.
and making sure that everybody that we came together as a team and they understood the passion and they agreed with the goal. And also, I allowed them to help me create what we wanted our team to look like. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
very important that they were a part of it, that they had input of what made us different from other teams or other companies in our industry. So that was real important to me. And, COVID came along and that helped me. I was getting ready to kind of step away and I had started turning things over to people. I think one thing I did that was important is I continued to be the front person with the big clients.
Mm-hmm.
But after we got started on a project, I would turn it over to the team and I'd step
Mm.
aside. So it was like a warm handover, but I would still be present.
Yeah.
And I think that was important. It was important to the client, and it also gave the team confidence that they could do this and they didn't need me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And as I saw them take on these responsibilities and do such a great job, it was like they're younger, they're brighter, they're faster. They don't need me. And
Mm.
I had to step aside to allow them that opportunity.
That's so
And I
beautiful.
did it in small baby steps, but it was important, I think, for them as well as me to do it that way.
Yeah. No, that's so good. I love that. So, move to the personal side a little bit. Like you were so strategic and planful and organized from a
Yes.
personal perspective of what the goals were that you wanted to and the things
Early
you
on.
wanted in place. Yeah. So, talk about those.
Well, early on, I decided to get professional coaching. I knew what I wanted to do, but coaching helped me to develop, to make it bigger. I was really able to dream bigger
Yeah.
because I wanted us to be different than anybody else in the industry. And then it was important how you execute it, and you have to write it down. It has to be written down,
Mm-hmm.
and you
Mm-hmm.
have to have somebody that you're accountable to and
Yeah.
taking those steps. And that doesn't mean you can't change it up, because I
Sure.
changed it up 3 or 4 times.
Yep.
And especially as the team began to develop, I allowed them to begin to make changes.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that was really important to me. I think I know that I was at the right company and they could give me the tools I needed to accomplish the goal.
Yeah.
It was the right culture. Be sure you're with the right company. Know what you want to do, know what you're passionate about, and make sure you're with the right company and the right people
Mm.
to help you achieve that goal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And be aware that step back and let people pick you too, but be sure that they
Mm.
know what your goal is, what your passion is, that
Yeah.
they see clearly what you're trying to achieve. And if they want to step on the train and go with you,
Yeah.
they know exactly where you're going.
Yeah. That's so good. Okay, so you brought up identity. So I want to come back to identity. So that was a component for you of choosing to retire, was kind of the concern around, your identity was all about work. So talk about how you've worked through that and how that has kind of evolved for you to find a new identity in this new season of life.
Oh, I think it started by watching the individuals that I worked with start to soar. And I realized my job was almost over. I had mentored well, and that was an accomplishment for me. And I had developed great relationships, but I had not had that much time with my family. My children and my grandchildren were getting older. And because I didn't have to work as hard because I was turning things over to the team, I started getting involved with them, got more involved with my church family, and started developing relationships outside of my business. And it enriched me. It fed my soul. It was not a quick process. It was probably a process that took me about 3 years. So it wasn't something that happened overnight. Also, it left me open to meet a wonderful man because, like I said, the best way I can describe it, I wasn't two-dimensional anymore. I was becoming a whole person and understanding I had other interests that I had ignored all those years.
Yeah.
So it was exciting. It was an exciting time for me. The only thing I was concerned about at that point was I going to be busy enough? Because I'm a doer. I get up in the morning, I get dressed, I'm ready to go. I got to do this and do that. And my husband gave me the project of redoing the house. So
that's right. Yeah.
I don't know what my next project is, but I know that God will provide. I'll find. But right now, it's helping my daughter with her child, and supporting my 2 older grandchildren, and it's a lovely life. And you also have to understand, I didn't quit till I was 72. I was still involved.
Yeah. That's so good. I love that. So talk to us about, like, just in this new season, as you've moved into it over the last year or so, like, what has been surprising to you, either good surprising or even bad surprising?
I don't have any bad surprises. To know that I can sit in my pajamas all morning and drink my coffee, read my books, talk to here's one thing that's really helped me is my friendships. So the lady that started the company that I joined back in 1987, she doesn't live far from me, and we were best friends before I ever went to work there. Well, she and I talk every day. She's right here. And then getting back with friends that I've had for a lifetime and spending more time with them, getting involved in their lives. My life is richer than it's ever been. It really is.
I love that. Yeah. So good.
And I have a husband that's retired, and we spend time together. We have fun. We giggle a lot.
Oh, that's so good.
I think the hardest thing in transitioning from being very, very busy to taking it easy, being quiet, you learn to listen to yourself more. You learn to listen better to other people. You become more sensitive of other people's needs because you're quieter. You're not so busy. And it's a special time in your life when you retire. If you don't retire too early.
Yes.
It's quiet. It's peaceful. It's full of cheer and happiness, and we all have the up and down. I can't tell you that, there's always ups and there's always down, but the ordinary in my life is beautiful right now. I just love it.
I love that for you. It's so good. What is I can think interesting as you talk through this and thinking about is, like, as those of us who are not yet at that stage in life, like, thinking about what are those elements, what are those aspects and quality of life that we want for ourselves, when we get to our 70s or even our 60s or even our 80s, whatever that looks like, and being able to really identified the good in those, because I think, not to put words in your mouth, but I think some of your apprehension to retirement back 5 or so years ago was the unknown and not thinking about all of the good potential things that these years would hold for you necessarily. And so just now being able to look back and say, oh gosh, maybe if I had thought about all of the good, great things that would come in that time frame would have helped the apprehension. What do you think about that? Does that resonate for you?
I don't think 7, 8 years ago I was ready to be quiet with myself. So I think it's different for each woman and each person. I was, again, my identity was in my job.
Yeah.
And I'm getting, at this time in my life, I'm having the opportunity to identify with other aspects of who I am, the other part of the woman.
Yeah.
Whether it be close friends, wife, mother, grandchildren. You know, my kids are late 40s, but I'm still their mom. And I think being quiet is something that I've missed. And I love the quietness in my life. I love that I'm not stressed anymore and I'm not worried about the next deal. Or if I had any advice for somebody, even in their 60s in a high-powered job, I would say, don't let it be your life. Start developing stuff before you retire. That would be my advice.
I love that.
I don't know that I did, but God provided. And it's been an amazing journey. I wouldn't change anything about my journey and my profession. It gave me a wholeness, but yet I found out when I retired, I wasn't whole.
Yeah.
Because I think some women or men too, not just women, we get so caught up in what we're doing that we're missing different parts of ourselves.
Yeah. So I know you said that obviously that's different for each of us and that happens differently for each of us, but how do you think someone who isn't quite there yet could foster or cultivate that in themselves, you know, when they're in their 50s or 60s, and kind of be more mindful of that?
Well, definitely develop relationships outside of your workplace, outside of your clients. And there's something special about everybody you meet. And even though you may be different, have different backgrounds, there's something special about that person. So I would say to make your world bigger if you have time, make time to make your world bigger than what you're doing. And some of the women are people, they have young families, so that's pretty difficult to do because you're wrapped up in the kids as well. But if the kids are gone and it's just you and your husband, or you're by yourself, and I was a single mom for a long time, so my world wasn't big enough. I just have to tell you, I mean, I had a great world, or thought I did, but it's so much fuller today. So I would just say, have relationships outside of your profession.
Yeah.
Start developing those.
Yeah. Cultivating those relationships is such an
cultivate them
piece.
and find out if you have other interests, you know?
Yeah. Oh, so good. Anything else that we haven't talked about that you want to share with our friends who are joining us today?
I just want to tell thank you so much for allowing me to share. You know, you have made me think about things too. So I appreciate that, because you had me dig a little bit.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that so much. Definitely didn't expect for it to be a pitch about me, but thank you. I appreciate that. That's so thoughtful.
You made a difference for me. So I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, and that just, I I know I've said it multiple times throughout these episodes, but we need community. We need other women in our lives to encourage us and be there when we're in the muck and the mire and when we need some extra accountability. And that's what life is meant to be. So
it is, most definitely. Yeah. And so find those people in your life.
Yes.
Yes. That would be my advice. And I had a strong group of women within my church and also in my social circles. So it was, they have brought me along.
Yeah, it makes all the difference. So
yeah.
Good. Well, thank you so much for your wisdom and for sharing, something that has been, somewhat of a difficult journey the last few years. I really appreciate you coming and sharing with us.
You're so welcome. Thank you for inviting me. You have a great day.
Can I just tell you a quick little story? When Diane and I started working together about 6 years ago and she came to me for coaching, I truly was shaking in my boots. I was so intimidated to work with this exceptionally successful career woman. And even today, in having this conversation with her, I still am just so intimidated by how intentional she is and thoughtful and planful and conscientious about just all of these different aspects of her life. But what a gift and a blessing for us to be able to learn from her and all that she's been through and just her thoughtfulness around life. I'm continually inspired by that in her, and I'm so grateful that she shared that with us. One of the things that strikes me so much about our conversation, she threw it in there, just real kind of softballed it in where we might not have even noticed, but she said to enjoy the ordinary in life. And that runs so countercultural to everything else that is going on for us of this, dream big, think big, go big or go home, and always shooting for the stars and shooting for the moon and, looking for the extraordinary. And I just love how she reminded us that there is such a beauty in finding and enjoying that ordinary in life. So I'm so grateful for today's conversation with Diane. If you'd like to reach out to her and talk to her about retirement, planning for retirement, or just anything else that she shared, her contact information is in the show notes. Just as one side note, I do want to let you know that in next week's episode, we are going to talk about if you've been triggered by any of these episodes, conversations thus far, and these women's stories, just how to deal with that. As I said in this statement today, in this moment of, I'm still intimidated by Diane, and there are portions of our lives that are hard for us to, not be triggered and for our insecurities or our fears or our doubts to rise to the surface. So in next week's conversation, that's what we're going to talk about. So I hope you'll join me for that. Thank you so much for listening in. What an honor to help you to cultivate confidence, courage, and joy in your life and work. Thank you so much for inviting me to journey with you. I look forward to being back with you next week where we'll hear another story from a woman whom I love and am inspired by and look forward to learning from.